Hello, and welcome back to the Geek on My Sleeve channel, where we learn how to human one book at a time. This week is Geek Out number 134 of The Perfect Run 3 by Maxime J. Durand, aka Void Herald. And dang, what a wonderful ride! It definitely, there was a lot in this book. Just side note, the premise of the series, or I guess spoiler free section, the premise of the series being Groundhog's Day for time travel esque reliving the same day, I thought would make it very repetitive, but have been thoroughly surprised over the variations between book one, book two, and book three. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This was a recommendation to us, something we probably wouldn't have picked up on our own. and got drawn in by the Deadpool style humor and the fun gamification, references, puns, all that good stuff. And we quickly learn, like in the first book, how many different loops. And this third one was actually the least amount of resets and loops we got. I forget where we were at exactly, but it was something like 20 plus. And I want to say we only did, is it 2 resets in this book?
Mm,
Because
I
we,
could be wrong. I thought there was only like 12. But yeah, I'm
mm,
pretty sure we only did 2, if not 3.
right, right.
Yeah.
He went through a lot pretty quickly in the first book.
Yeah.
Um, and e- each time he kind of perfected, learned. He thought that he figured out all the variables of how to deal with these different factions. We pretty much had, was it the Meta Gang, the Augusti, the Carnival, and then begins with a D. Our corporate overlords, Dynamis.
Dynamis. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And I really, as a gamer, appreciated the references where he's like, oh, here I thought this was going to be, this type of story mode or campaign, but I unlocked a hidden route or a hidden, gotta do my side
Or yeah, I thought
quests.
this was an Augusti
And
run, but it turns out it was a hidden carnival run. Or yeah.
yeah, and I mean, we talk to each other like that, just in our day-to-day lives. So to kind of have a main character in similar modes where it's like, yeah, I gotta go bust out this side quest or grind out my dailies or yeah, yeah,
Well, that
yeah.
and I just the whole human aspect of things I enjoyed. 'Cause for video games, it's typically like you are a race or you're a faction, and that's your only option.
Mm-hmm.
Completely break all of that into learning how to human, and he befriends several people from each of the paths and ends
Yeah,
up creating his new team. So,
yeah, yeah.
or yeah, I guess we're getting into spoiler warning territory. But yeah,
Yes,
I
yes,
just
yes.
miss saying the Q. But
Oh, yeah,
oh
all good.
my, the lore in this book was phenomenal. I at like ugh, the potential for other books, which is a weird way to go about it, but there's so many variabilities that we can take from the story to continue expanding the universe, which I'm always
Mm-hmm.
a fan of because a story never dies; it just is no longer being told. Um, for example, our main guy is like 800 plus years old, so we could view those 800 years of his multiple quests.
True,
We, at the end of
true.
this book, got a glimpse from the Violet, uh, oh, I forget what they call him, Overlord God thing, um,
Mm-hmm. Higher
of
being or something
what
like that.
he fought to achieve and what his potential could be. So we could continue on. We could see that. Everybody, or not everybody, Mr. Wade, for example, says, "Hey, don't go to X, don't go to Y, don't go to this place."
Mm-hmm.
So we could have a whole, you know,
Yep, yep.
side series, side arc where he does go there. We could have this is the world, and we've seen one town. We went to Antarctica, which has nothing. We went back to Monaco. So, like, out of the grand scheme of a whole world, we have barely
Mm-hmm.
scratched the surface. So, we could easily pick up on a different genome, different color, and live through their life. Um, we could watch Ryan
Yeah, even
finally
just life
accept.
after.
Yeah, well, life after the ending, or we could watch him ascend and then go to some of the other worlds as they start to develop, where they're trying to
Mm,
uplift different people. Because currently in Earth, we only have Leo the Living Son, who's close to Ascension, and Ryan, our main guy, who's close to Ascension, so we could help our other people ascend. Um,
Mhm.
Random side theory that I don't think would happen is we put Ghoul in a rocket and he's orbiting Earth. The
Oh.
Overlord, the you know big G gods essentially said when humanity is ready to explore space and whatever, we'll see how you do or do the trial. And I hope Ghoul is not the start of that because that would be a horrible first contact. But
I I'd read it, like, if they, expanded into, space and kinda went that level. We
I
saw a
could
little bit of
see
what's
it
out there,
very
but
easily being a unique twist on what happened here because we
mhm,
got to see the alchemist and the origin story. And the one thing that this book does phenomenally well is it created powers based off of desires. But since we got to see more backstory or lore for like Augustus being a criminal kingpin and
mhm,
him wanting to launder money through the church so that he could buy his daughter a pony, like,
right.
it puts things into perspective, and then the abstract stuff with, oh, not Geist, but the guy who ran the Bliss Factory and how he used to be a priest and his
Mhm,
backstory and devotion, but then due to the elixir and the bliss or the psychedelic mushroom stuff, it was pretty traumatic and created kind of a new or differing persona for him. Um, the people who we thought were bad guys and all the bad stuff that happened with like Bloodstream, like we thought he was done, but I guess in book two we realized he really wasn't. But then
mhm,
the conversation that stuck with our main guy for he did it so that he could protect his daughter and like the crazy stuff we do to protect those who we care about and just like all yeah, the alchemist for she was essentially creating weapons of mass destruction, but through biology
I'd
and
love to see
then
a novella of her,
understanding. Yeah, yeah, because like
you know?
we know time. It was like 2 hours outside, but it was like 2 days inside. So we know it has a time acceleration, and we know
Mhm,
that she did a lot of research and got to
right,
see a bunch of different things. And like, yeah,
right.
she could very easily be an expansion. Um, Yeah, there's so much good lore and great character development throughout it.
Well, yeah, I wanna touch on that a little bit. Unfortunately, like, I didn't get the opportunity to do books 1 and 2 before this stream, but I did get through the 3rd one a couple times before hopping on here to do the live. Um, but it's such a tough line to walk for authors to balance everything, right? And we talk about how, like, here we are, literally, we open up as soon as we ride into this new town, and everything happens within the same couple days, right? Like we keep repeating that stuff, we keep repeating it, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but it did such a good job kind of like introducing the quote magic system early on to where we understood it with the colors, and then layering it to by the third book when we're having interactions with these, quote unquote gods of the different planes of existence and everything. Like it just took us through the learning curve so smoothly while still keeping it interesting, right? Like in a way, it's almost like one of those weird challenging writing prompts where they're like, "Hey, create a trilogy that takes place over, 3 days or whatever," right? Like 3, 4 days. And sure enough, like here we have it, maybe it's a week, but like we go through the same bit over and over again while expanding the world, the lore. We get some very timely flashbacks from the characters, as well as just like the character growth and dynamics. Like early on, I was kind of asking myself, it's like, okay, like who's going to be his love interest? Who is he going to fall for? Is it going to be his quote unquote adopted sister? Um, but the further along we get, they really do truly become more family, which they always were, and I can appreciate that. Oh, but Lightning Dad's daughter, I'm drawing a blank on her name. Just refer to her as
Queen
Princess.
Crimson. No, a yes, but no.
Lady Spider. Um, anyway, like
Not
they're just
Fortuna, not Vulcan.
they were all supposed to be Greek names, right?
Mm, it's gonna bug me. I can't think of it either.
That's all right. That's all right. It's probably in one of the audio clips we got.
Oh,
Um, but our main character, he's approaching 900 years old. So just like his perspective and depth of experience, even though he's only, looks to be in his 20s or whatnot, um, he can't have the same type of relationship with other people his quote unquote physical age just because of like the depth of his experience. But his love interest, who he ends up actually getting involved with and proposes to at the end, she's kind of had a similar experience because she's able to see the branching paths and what people will do, right? So like she hasn't quite lived as long as him, but in a way she's kind of experienced it. She talks about different drugs and so on and so forth, where like she's experienced all those things without having the hangover later. They're just such a good fit for each other.
oh yeah,
And she's
and
able to kind
their
of help
power
anchor him.
matchups and
Hmm.
sidestep. That was one of the pieces that I thoroughly enjoyed because select people can move through his time stop now because they have violet influences or are connected through another world, so to
Hmm.
speak. And that made it a hindrance for his team that he was building up. And just combat was there for this one as well. We got the battle with Fallout. We had the Augusti battle. We had the
That's
dungeon
true.
run into
Our
the alchemist lair. We
combat
had
junkie, was there enough? We had
I there
very
was
diverse.
quite a bit,
Yeah.
or at least some big ones.
We did throughout the trilogy have some big battles for each of the runs, right? And it was nice because we got to kind of
And
see.
it didn't truly like break everything because it added the black paradox for like we didn't have to go confront the alchemist every time, and it worked
Mhm.
in our favor because then we can continue our other mission objectives. But then it
Mhm.
also had a negative consequence of we took out Geist, the guy who is protecting
Right.
the Bliss lab, and that had thrown everything out of whack, and we had to adjust and like
Mhm.
other potential variables that just all ended up working out.
Yes. Yes. Um, and that did it well too when they kind of not really broke the rules but just expanded the magic system in the universe.
Yeah, and that's it's hard to explain this series without destroying stuff because it actually is a sci-fi, but
Yeah.
I can't tell you that until you get to the part with the alchemist because the alchemist
Sci-fi
is
fantasy.
making
They
elixirs,
blend.
which we think is some way, red pill, blue pill, whatever kind of situation where it gives you superhuman powers. But in reality, it's actually, oh, I can't remember the verbiage, but there's different bonds. There's like a parasite who feeds off of the host and it has detrimental effects to the host. There's a
Mhm.
symbiotic bond where they both end up benefiting, such as sharks have little fish that eat the algae or eat whatever and kind of clean them, and then you have the other way where they're neither really a benefit or a hindrance. And anyway, so we're essentially bonding our souls to someone who has ascended and has become a priest, so to speak, of the ultimate power of differing worlds that has come down to uplift us.
Mm-hmm.
But everything drastically got skewed due to the alchemist and gene therapy and other variabilities. And another story concept or idea, we could easily have one of these decisions get changed and the whole storyline is new. But I also really enjoyed it stuck true through and through to the Schrodinger's cat theory and applied it in multiple different ways. And I just enjoyed the whole, oh, well, if you're so powerful, why didn't you do anything? And he's like, I did. I sent you. It's like dun dun dun. And then yeah,
Right.
hey Chaz, welcome, welcome. Um
Yeah, good to see you, buddy. Always a pleasure.
yeah, yeah, a lot of good potential lore. Yeah, like we got to see a glimpse into several of the different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and as well as the potential for instead of bonding with the elixirs, just harnessing their power, and we kind of do that in the armor towards the end. But yeah,
Yeah. Um, what, just bouncing around. What did you think when we had the plushie revelation that it could activate whenever it wanted? Like we
so
had some
the
hints, if I
plushie
remember.
writing was very well done throughout all the books.
Mm-hmm.
Book one, we had the it is a greater power from another world and it has set parameters, and it was one of those like it was always hinted at like, oh my, how can you do that? Took something so nice and turned it into something so evil. And then we had the
Mm-hmm.
premise book two where like we could only use it if we weren't going to complete the run and it's still bound to its actual thing. But then in book three we got more of just the alien understanding for inside the purple world, death does not exist. And the plushie was from that. And essentially, this was a vacation for it where it ended up killing people because it didn't understand death. So that was a thing, as well as living through experiences with Ryan. But then it, you know, got defeated and was on the other side of it for experiencing it itself, but because of what it is, it didn't stick. And then, yeah, it had a couple of great lore moments or whatever for, I always want to try this. And he does the whole Simba hold up, and then they're now have a new dynamic and bond. And just like, there were a lot of moments throughout this book where even for all that we are and everything that we want, we are nothing. For we thought we had the plush contained, and it didn't matter because it could have wiped us all out whenever it wanted. We thought we defeated Bloodstream. Doesn't matter because you're all a bunch of hosts, and everybody can become a massive blob body of doom and death.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter because the alchemists thought all of humanity was a lab experiment, and as long as it had the ship, could restart and recolonize whenever it wanted. It doesn't matter because we talked with the Ultimate One, and it essentially said like there is an amiibo on your arm that has been there since you started and has fought several wars and whatever, whatever, and as awesome and as grand as you think you are, you're nothing. And I did do a thing because I sent you this, and
Right.
just yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah,
roller
it's
coaster of emotions.
we've talked about it before with other books, but it's something I really appreciate about reading and try to carry off or carry over into, the day-to-day life as, you know, in the moment, it's so easy to see like our challenges and our issues currently right in front of us being larger than life, the biggest thing, the biggest mountain or obstacle out there. But once you take a step back and truly look at everything in the world and the universe, it's just a blip, if that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
stop, ask yourself, like, okay, like, is this really worth all this energy and effort getting worked up over, or should we, go sit on the rooftop and just enjoy the day, watching the scenery, et cetera, enjoying life, spending time with people we care about, so on and so forth.
But yeah, it also, I don't know. It very much towards the end or after we got through everybody's parental problems gave the vibe or the feel of like majority of the genomes are stuck in the old world because Augusti was still trying to be a mob boss, and you know
That's
Leo the
true.
living son was still trying to be a fighter or a firefighter, and
Hmm.
it kept with a lot of the pre-notions. It's not until towards the end, I can't remember the, oh, it's one of our the person we proposed to's family members, but essentially said that like we need to prepare the children to take on the future and to make it better. And yeah,
Not make our same mistakes.
yeah, and it very much sets it up to reform. And it's one of those, like, not a whole lot of stories that I've witnessed. I'm sure there's probably some out there where things gain superhuman abilities and don't stomp on the little guy. I don't know how else to say it. Like, yeah, or Dragon Ball Z, we're Saiyans, we're awesome. Well, now there's Cell, and now there's Frieza, and now there's a
Hmm.
bigger bad, X-Men.
Hmm.
Well, now there's Magneto, and now there's an opposing. Like, it essentially comes down to people will be people,
Yeah.
and no matter what you do, but that also makes us enjoy the better times even more because without perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of good stuff. As always, keep tossing these awesome book suggestions our way. Um, yeah.
And we just also had a lot of great character development and bonds. Here's one that I thought was relevant.
Shroud crossed his arms. Why would you cooperate with us on this? The same reason as you, Livia answered. To protect this city from destruction. Destruction? The panda asked, suddenly uneasy. About that, Livy, what are we here for? Fortuna asked her best friend. I haven't mentioned this secret mission to anyone else, not even Narcinia, but I want to know. Shroud looked at Fortuna with a hint of scorn. You came all the way here not knowing why? Well, Livy is my dearest friend, she replied confidently. If a friend needs help, you give it, no questions asked. This made
So, long and short, friend needs help, you give it, no questions asked. And it's one of those things, doesn't happen overnight. Takes a lot of time, effort to build up, but to have the reliability and the understanding of, this person has your back no matter what is a human thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I also just really enjoyed her and our mirror man, their courtship, as her power kept bringing them together.
Yeah, and that whole scenario really brings me back to like not taking things personally in a weird roundabout kind of way where I don't know what you've been through, you don't know what I've been through, as well as perspective and such. And It's a thing I do where I watch anime and I'll watch it dubbed, so I hear it in English, and then I'll put on subtitles, so I'll read it in English, but they don't match up. It's kind of like that, but I feel like everybody sucks at the telephone game. So someone will say the sky is blue, and like that's a fact. But in reality, is it blue? Or is it the reflection of the sun off the waters hitting molecules in the sky? Like, you said it. I can agree with you, but I'm also sucking at the telephone game, and, there's
Mm-hmm.
more to be understood.
Right. Right. Absolutely. What other fun
Here's
quotes you got?
another one.
What can I say, mate? If a man is a man, he knows what he wants and gets it. And what I want? He raised his gravity.
So, if a man's a man, he knows what he wants and he gets it. Sometimes sheer will and determination is all you need. In reality, there's a lot more factors and skill, energy, effort, and all of the side characters and or NPCs that you have to deal with. Um, but yeah, it's one of those. Sometimes you just got to turn it off, and I have a problem with. Can't stop but overcomplicate things. But sometimes you just need sheer force of will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. And then here we go again. This one's kind of like the premise of like you are a product of your environment.
Take it from someone who knows, Ryan replied. There will always be rotten apples like late Adam. But most people I've met only need the right circumstances to turn their lives around. Anyone can choose right over wrong, even a spoiled, self-obsessed brat with a busted power. Shroud chuckled. Do you know that she sculpts in her spare time?
So yeah, just giving people the opportunity and the benefit of the doubt. And in my learning how to human day to day, I've had several interactions with NPCs who want to come at me aggressive, and I just have to put on that I care about your life face and, calmly address and assess their problems. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just
And then
give
go from
them the
there.
opportunity to, I didn't even hear your anger, but I will default and give you support as needed.
Roll for a charisma check.
Yeah. Oh, and then here's
You should have pushed her away more firmly and focused on the mission. Stop right here, Sasuke. You're parking in a no-emo zone, Ryan interrupted him. If you go on about how you should have dedicated your heart to darkness or put the mission above everything, I'm kicking you off of this team. But what if she tells her parents? Shroud snapped back. What if she blows the whistle about this place, about us? I'm not even sure why she hasn't already. Because her brother told her similar things when he left, and it's eating away at her? Ryan suspected that deep down, Fortuna had some doubts about her parents' true nature and that of her associates. But it would take a shock like Pluto ordering a hit on her brother to wake her up. Did you tell her the truth about her sister? No. Maybe I should. Too much, too soon, Ryan said. I'll consult Livia. Lucky Girl would react better to the truth if it came from her best friend's mouth. The vigilante sighed in defeat. I should take the hint and break it off. Her power has a shorter range than mine. It can't force us to spend time together if I stay away. I knew that from the start, and I shouldn't have let it progress this far.
so or not directly a quote, but premise of the whole thing is initially Shroud is sent to take out some of the higher ups who are essentially the hit squad for the mob. I can't remember his name, but through interacting with her, her power is luck, and it keeps protecting her from all the bad deeds, which then puts Shroud or Medea's in prime spot to help her after the disaster of what she caused. And it's just the development of the relationship of I see you as a negative, as an evil because you are a hitman, but then the reality of, you know, it's not working out, and then coming to terms with truly learning and understanding the individual where it's not as it seems. So
Mm-hmm.
you can collect and assimilate all the information, but every story has at least two sides, and yeah, even that gets lost in translation between what you think is and what it actually is, so to speak.
Right.
Long time ago, I made a decision for the both of us, and I've paid the price ever since, the courier declared. You know where I stand as far as your father is concerned, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over while expecting different results. This time we'll make the decision together. Not now, Rai, she said upon raising her eyes, her face pleading. Not now. I need more time. It's too big a decision to make now. I understand, he replied. We can delay the Dynamis raid for later. We'll use this loop to test the vaccine, gather information, and find a cure for the psycho condition. So
it's I enjoyed it because it's a play on the classics. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. But yeah, it also just simply being there for someone and giving them the information and then trusting them to make their decision, which
Yeah.
I am guilty of this a lot, where I verbally process at times, or I explained it to someone else's odd scenario, but I kept forgetting a select thing. So I told insert someone to remind me to do the thing. And in reality, I don't care if they remind me, but because I know I need to remember, and then I've told them that I need to remember, it's almost like I put that information, copied it into a different folder. That makes sense. So yeah, I am
Yeah.
verbally processing or other factors.
Yep. Yep. Or in a way, just like some people, they need to write stuff to remember it, by repeating it out loud. But yeah, I really enjoyed this quote because like we've heard similar ones before, and I think we've even quoted each other at it when we're just facing problems and we're trying to use that determination just to get through. And it's like, okay, yeah, like determination's good, but what about this is different? What are we doing differently? Or are we just trying to willpower our way through it, expecting different results? Because like
Yeah,
we
definition of
we even
insanity.
yep, we even finish this quote for each other all the time when we see the other one doing it. It's like, what's the definition of insanity?
And yeah, that's where reading books, back to this whole, why we're doing this or why we enjoy it, is differing perspectives, to not take it
Mm-hmm.
personally, but to live through other people's shoes. And let's be honest, IRL kind of blows. Or reality is silly and I've yet to ascend. Yeah.
You got to grind out that XP first.
Mr. Wave is quite happy. His idol patted Ryan in the back as they observed the destruction. He was worried you would grow up the wrong way, and that he would have to put you down like an old yeller. But you became a man of refined taste and great skill. Thanks to your example. After saving him so many times, Mr. Wave had left a powerful impression on Ryan. What were you up to?
So sorry for pausing, starting it there. This is one of those things that I don't have as much impact in my worldly experience or life, but you, in one direction, you can help someone as much as you want, but they have to make the decision in the end, and you have to let them fail. In a less dramatic, more linear expectation is children, such as, if you have a child and you raise them, you can give them all the tools to succeed, but at the end of the day, it's up to them. So
Mm-hmm.
setting them up for success without getting in their way and with giving them the opportunity to expand and live.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Chaz commented, differing perspectives are essential, and you're right. That's where reading is really helpful, and IRL does suck. Yep. Yeah. So after experiencing so many grand, ever expanding, epic worlds, like even in our own couple experiences that I've witnessed, Elon Musk said there is a slim chance that we're the only intelligent species. Like it's out there. We just haven't, gotten out of our solar system faster than
Hmm.
light travel, blah blah blah, yada
Hmm.
yada, and that's a reality. Um, Communication's going to be a barrier, and hopefully we don't have to symbiotically bond to them to experience all that they are, because more than likely it would have gone a different way. And yeah,
Well, I think it's natural to quote unquote like humanize things. Um, but this book did a really good job as like we were learning more about the other realm and the quote unquote priests and just like um the powers they bonded with, learning. Like we got to see like the plushie kind of work its way through of learning how to human and not picking up on the subtleties. And it's a nice little reminder that like there's a reason when we talk about things, even when it's not alien, we talk about it being alien, right? So again, kind of step back, shift that perspective, um, and yeah, just approach things with an open mind.
and we always enjoy the puns. Actually, grabbed one this time.
Would be grounds for divorce. The joke struck you as bad? Yes, it did. She paused before rolling her eyes. Struck? Truly? I was just as shocked when the idea crossed my mind. This time it made her giggle. I guess I didn't spend enough time brainstorming. When it rains, it pours, Livia lamented, a smile on her face. Oh, come on. I can see you like my puns. They are bad, Ryan, she said, wounding his sensitive heart. But so bad they end up being funny anyway. Right.
Yeah, there was book two had another couple grand puns, and
Yeah.
yeah, just the philosophy for my generation, if I may, is it's bad. It's so bad, it's good.
There you go. There you go.
Mhm.
And holes in the road's sewage system. The Centurion attempted to teleport items to protect himself, but the Horde quickly buried him alive beneath their furred mass. Jamie gave a shocked Felix a nod, and then fled in the city's direction while Ryan drove his car on the pier. The Plymouth Fury seemed to screech as it drove between yachts, Len's submarine rising from the waves 36 meters away. Metal plates opened on the colossal underwater vehicle's back, revealing a platform meant for transporting Necron's mechs. Shorty waited on it, anxiously looking at her best friend with a water rifle in hands. They helped us? Adam Cat whispered to himself. You should treat your true friends better, Ryan said, as they reached the pier's end. Seatbelts!
So that wasn't the best placement for the quote, but the premise is essentially one of the people believes the family, believes the fold, and some of his friends are left behind. They have a couple conversations. Hey, you should go. You should do other stuff. They can't due to extenuating circumstances. But when it really came down to, are you willing to take this step, make this decision that you can never take back? They end up helping him out, and as the lore and we learn more about it, it was pretty powerful for the circumstances. Adam Kitty, or Adam Cat, as we know him, was able to leave and wasn't absolutely destroyed due to his
Hmm.
relations and who and the Jamie and Ki Jung, how they essentially had to stay due to circumstances of this was how they were not put in jail or executed or other parameters. And yeah, when it truly came down to it, they couldn't do it and they were willing to help. But then they died. So it didn't work out. But we save them. So it's okay.
I did kind of miss the fact that we didn't get to see them as much in book three, but we did spend a
I
lot of time with them in the first two books.
I think there was enough additional backstory and lore that we developed with all the other characters that there wasn't space. I was sad that we didn't get to see them, but they were essentially entry level grunts or whatever, and
Until the end.
until the end,
Right.
as well as that's just another. I was saying for how small we actually are, the reality of the aliens and the alchemist and all of the battles that we had to do on this spaceship to defeat a couple of these robots. It wasn't a boss battle. These were the ads. These were the grunts. These were one of the civilizations, random ships that they shot off into space and hoped to continue their species by at least someone surviving. Yeah, yeah, that's hard to contest with.
One of his lengthiest fetch quests, but the South Pole remained a mystery to him. Have you found anything? Len asked him through the intercom. Winter is coming, Ryan replied ominously as he and Sunshine flew over a tall glacier. Rai, you have been repeating that each time I call you. Because people must know, Ryan replied playfully. I mostly see snow, but on the plus side.
So that was just good other world or oh god, verbiage. It's not lore. Easter egg, causal connection thing that I understood from other places. What is that called? I can't think of the word. The winter
Say it again.
the winter is coming comes from Game
Oh.
of Thrones. That
Mhm.
is not an Easter egg. That is a
Reference? Pop culture reference?
yeah. Okay, that works. Didn't think of
Yeah.
it, but yeah, culture reference. I understood.
Yeah.
Ba ba ba.
I'm taking flight again alongside Sunshine. Perhaps we should have brought a robot army. They make everything easy. And that's the problem, Sunshine replied. When you make battles costless for those who order them, the results are always terrible. War should not be a computer game. Indeed, but Ryan still regretted condemning the bunker on their way out. Lightning Butt entered his full paranoia mode and sent soldiers to
So yeah, war should not be a computer game. When you make the cost of a life or the cost of waging war costs less or costless, then yeah, makes it too easy. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Chaz. There, pop culture reference. There we go. But yeah, and it's one of the things I see a lot in books, but between the singularity and the divide between I know what's right and I'm going to do what's right, much as the alchemist was doing, where she figured she had the only knowledge and was the only one who could make it happen, versus the multiple people to keep other people in check, kind of like we see at the end when the Augusti girl, our romantic interest, ends up taking over, but then she has other people involved who are helping her stay in check, and the carnival who are helping influence different things. And now the only way you can make it a big group successful is with multiple inputs.
They're still fighting a war they lost long ago. What is a Japanese? A husbando or a waifu? Darkling didn't answer immediately. Whatever. An ember can still spark a fire if left unchecked. This alchemist had the opportunity to destroy this place once and for all, as you planned to do with the machine's base in that city of yours. But she didn't. Ava Fabre tried to give humans superpowers instead, to fight against whatever extraterrestrial entity might reach Earth. But if Darkling was correct, then she had been crusading against windmills. Universal master race. Ava Fabre had learned of these aliens' history, but instead of taking it as the cautionary tale that it was, she repeated their mistakes all over again. She tried to make mankind this extraterrestrial's successors, to give humans the power to conquer the cosmos. And instead of Superman, she had created the likes of Mecron, Bloodstream, and Augustus. Or maybe she just didn't care. She had to have known.
So yeah, that's pretty much directly what I was talking about. How with the information she had and the background she had, she thought she had to be the only one, and she pushed her agenda without input from others, and created a lot of tragedy, but also a lot of good, which premise of human life is there's always going to be bad apples no matter what you do. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's just still learning how to human, and some of the humans I don't want to learn. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, I don't believe I got to these, but we'll click it because I marked it.
Quickly regained control of his vehicle. The courier attempted to save again, but events repeated themselves. His power refused to go past 10 seconds, letting time resume before the past could be set in stone.
Oh, this is just a beautiful literary device where essentially we have an understanding of how his power works and he can create a save point. And currently, the hurdle we're trying to get around is only he can go back. Figured out a bit of the mind mapping, mind transfer, so that we can send them back at the same time he goes back. And that's the thing. That's great. Try to save, but due to the nature of the higher powers and the ambassadors who are involved, and due to the time that he spent bonded with the Darkling and his elixir, they cosmically know that's not the best idea to not do
Mhm.
that. And it pushes our character to he kind of has like a panic moment at first where he's like, "Oh my, everything's messed up." But then as situations unfold, he takes a moment to kind of relax and unwind by beating up Ghoul a little more extensively than he does in previous loops, and on top of continuing with it because we need to, and then we get to see how shortly after his romantic interest, which I can never remember her name for some whatever reason, ends up having things change due to her dad having Geist, the specter of the Bliss plant, got taken out, and it's like, where'd he go? Because Ryan uses black power to erase him from the timeline completely. And it's
Yes.
just he has his own existential crisis or whatever for his power not working, but then due to someone else having a crisis, he ends up, you know, reevaluating, redirecting to, hey, we need to continue, see how it goes, and there's no where to go but forward for this, and creates interesting diverging events.
They did a good job kind of addressing some of the timeline stuff at the very end there, which I appreciated.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep. I I
About how
enjoyed it
kind of like
talking
it worked
to
and
the
didn't
Ultimate
work.
One and how, "Oh, you didn't do anything." "Yes, I did. I sent you." And then he puts it together where he has a chrono radio, encouraging him to continue in the second book, and then he has, his cat who comes back and yet again is himself or whatever, continuing in the second one, and then we get the vision or the insight of, the alchemists' hangout, and then,
Hmm.
we get a lot of other, cos cosmet co cosmos connected events to help him along the way, as well as Darkling being chaos and the Black being different things. And
Yeah.
I also enjoyed the diverging presence of we can't really, so alien spaceship crashes, they have access to the flux, to the powers, to how the elixirs communicate. We realize that we can't communicate with them very well due to whatever space time
Hmm.
constraints. We end up being
Hmm.
able to use our black power while inside the purple world, which when connecting to the purple world, the black world is closer, and that's, yeah, where a lot of our problems and other eventualities come to be, where most of our main bad guys who mess us up royally have some direct connection to another world. And it's one of those like everything has a perfect counter Trump scenarios with,
Hmm.
yeah, it's just, yeah, they did a good job with the lore and resetting stuff and taking select things out where the black was erasing it. But then when we meet with the ultimate one at the end, he essentially says, "I'm going to take this power from you because it can't be controlled and this, that, and the other." But in my humble opinion, because we more or less strip mined a lot of the connections to the other worlds and turn them into elixirs, which then we spread throughout the populace. Everyone who has tried to directly connect to other higher world or plane or whatever other than Ryan always got the black because Mecron, when he tried to get to the blue world to increase his powers or to meet the ultimate one,
Mm,
thought he got it, found the black world.
right, right,
Um, I don't know if that's their paradox of how if we're not ready to ascend, it will intercept and destroy us. A simple "you shall not pass" or "you are not worthy"
right,
kind of scenario.
right.
Another pop culture.
Teeth before glancing at the other members of Il Migliore. Devilry! Reload! Sorry, ex-boss. Reload interrupted him with a hint of disgust. I can't close my eyes on something this big, even for €1 billion. It's Lex Luthor level shit. I don't care much either way, Devilry said bluntly. But
Some Lex Luthor level shiz cocky mushrooms. Yeah. But that was essentially what was happening there is Bloodstream, who we thought was already gone and destroyed, ended up people harvesting the samples and turned him into the premise for all the knockoff elixirs. And the way the knockoff elixirs work is by cloning, and they ended up cloning, their main league and yeah, knockoff
Yeah,
elixirs and yada yada blah blah blah. And that's where I think side tangent. Yeah, they're like, oh, I think Shroud or Maddie or whoever has the revelation, or maybe it's Adam Cat. Anyway, where with all geniuses can make, why is there so much negativity and war and blah? And
mm-hmm.
a lot of it comes down to just a communication barrier where everybody sucks at the telephone game between like in the moment they accept their elixir, where their state of mind is. The
Mm-hmm.
elixirs grant them the power of their greatest desires, but in life as of currently, time is not linear, but my desires change from year to year, from day to day. Like the want, the need, the reality, the side quests are all factors and variables.
This is
And just
true.
the whole
This is
way
true
they're
and ever
introduced
changing.
inside the storyline. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ba 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 ba. Rolling.
and so they waltzed in the skies. As the couple made circles in the skies above New Rome, their armor's backpacks opened and released a green dust upon the city below.
Sorry. Was not what I meant. Try this again.
The very best, Ryan replied, taking her hand into his own. Like no one ever was. And so they waltzed in the skies. As the couple made circles in the skies above New Rome, their armor's backpacks opened and released a green dust upon the city below. The wind carried it like pollen, spreading this strange cure to the population. Unknown to all, a new, friendly virus had infected New Rome's population, one that would destroy all traces of Dynamus's knockoffs in people's blood, purifying them. Many would-be genomes would wake up tomorrow morning far more human than the day before. They would probably curse Ryan, unaware of the grim fate they had been spared from, unaware that they spread the cure each time they breathed. On the ground, Ryan's other allies distributed the cure from high positions, or even through the city's water system. In weeks, all of Europe would have caught the cure flu, exorcising Bloodstream's ghost from the population. The courier.
So this scene, beautiful literary genius, because essentially this takes the tragedy or the torment of the father combine combined with the sympathy of the trauma that the stepsister has gone through at the pinnacle of becoming the best that ever was in the paradox of a plague or a virus being passed, much like Corona or other IRL events, being
Hmm.
what saves us in our foundation of existence. Yeah, just that was probably a little over dramatic, but it was a lot of great causal connections or things all coming together. And yeah, he deserved it. I'm glad he got his win. Scrolling. Don't remember what this one was.
Virus had infected New Rome's population, one that would destroy all traces of Dynamus's knockoffs
Oh,
and
that was the continuation of another marker or the same marker. Scrolling.
and Enrique Manada arrested his own before banishing his brother into space. Even if both hoped it would end otherwise, they accepted that it couldn't. While I still can't, Ryan. Ryan listened in respectful silence, letting her say what weighed on her mind. Instead of answering with words, he sat on the bed and gently wiped away the tears. I'm scared, Ryan, she confessed, taking his hands into her own and squeezing his fingers. I'm scared because I've seen how it could end, but not how it will. I thought I wanted to be surprised, but not like this. Livia, do you remember what you told me at the restaurant the other night? Ryan asked, trying to reassure her. That the Ultimate One guided us together, and that I should carry on to see what it had in store, even if I couldn't save. I said that, Livia admitted, sighing. I thought I could shoulder the doubt back then, but now... She had wanted to reassure him, to tell him it would be okay, that it would turn out all right, the same way he tried to comfort her before. Ryan, if you can't save, if you feel your life is in danger, in real danger, flee. I can't, Livia. Not his style. After the destruction of his island, your thundering daddy will shock everyone he can get his metal hands on. If I can't defeat him, thousands will pay the price. I know.
And yet again, just well done. The way the stories progress with just all the literary devices and there are times where you've got to be the strong one, and there are times where you need help from someone else, and it's just been a back and forth between the two, and what we want and what can become reality with parameters given to us are two separate things. Do the best we can with what we have, and always wish for the best, hope for the worst, or hope
Hope for
for
the best, prepare for the worst.
yeah, expect the worst.
Yeah.
It turns out I'm a supervillain and I'm pretty cynical, but yeah, that
Uh,
that happy-go-lucky rah rah.
well, kind of building off of that, one of the reasons why I enjoyed grabbing that quote was the fact that, you know, throughout the trilogy, we go through and we play each campaign, right? Each team, each faction, find friends along the way, and our main character is constantly working for his perfect run where they all are going to be happy and like it's all going to work, and it's this constant struggle. And even with his powers, his lady acknowledges in this moment that every other major power has had to make sacrifices and compromises to get to this point, right? Like
Hmm.
Dynamis with his older brother and his father in order to do the right thing. Like each and every one of them, and she's still fighting against the idea of her father, who, as much as he's a mobster, like one of the earliest flashbacks we get is him basically trying to spoil her for her birthday, right? Like it's still his baby girl. It's still that family dynamic, but she acknowledges that he's doing evil things. And so she's finally coming around to that compromise point of like, you know, don't kill him, but we got to do something, right?
Yep. Yep. And like that premise, sticks through a lot of the book with Len having to defeat her father and realizing that he put a rebrand clone or whatever inside of her with,
Hmm.
Augusti as, Lightning Dad and all of his power and his premise with, oh, the Monada clan, Fallout Monada, and all of them, and just, turns out it's all daddy issues. Yeah. Um,
Or mommy issues, right? As he gets Shroud on his couch with the cat.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Next one.
To himself as he glanced at the room's cameras. It had taken all his charm to convince Alchemo to program this specific order into Mecron's mainframe. Execute Order 66. An alarm immediately echoed across the bunker. Self-destruct sequence initiated. Explosion expected in 6 minutes. Ryan was outside in 3, though he used his power to cheat. When the countdown reached its end, the courier hovered above the empty junkyard, watching on as Augusti cars crossed the checkpoints into Rusttown. With Dynamus's collapse, the guards had been either recalled back to other areas or simply deserted. Nobody opposed the criminal syndicate's invasion. Yet, no sooner had they crossed the border that the whole district trembled. The quake wasn't powerful enough to devastate Rusttown, but Ryan couldn't say the same for the junkyard. The open garbage den collapsed on itself, its ground falling.
Okay, so that was another one of those like weapons of mass destruction. There's nobody's good hand that it needs to be in. And for as much as we need the power and we make sacrifices, such as Ryan only having the gravity weapon inside his armor for the final battle and not allowing other people to join him because they can't survive his time stop when Lightning Butt can move in
Hmm.
between the time stops and weapons mass destruction. Yeah, don't take into account people.
True.
And it doesn't really matter because Mother Nature. And that doesn't really matter because we are on a flying metal rock in space. And at any given time, ET could come and visit. The sun could blow up. The asteroid could dinosaur us. Like
Solar
we are not.
flare, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of I've been seeing a lot of recent news about solar flares messing people up. For Starlink had a bunch of satellites go down. They're observing a lot
Mm,
more additional solar flares off the sun, which essentially could just get so big it EMPs us all. Um, yeah,
The courier said with a grunt. My girlfriend scratches me harder. Julia Costa died on the altar, only to rise again. A holy maiden and a tool of the one true God, Bacchus replied softly. It took days for her to accept this divine grace, but in the end, she opened her heart to me. Yeah, I'm going to martyr you too as soon as I reach your hiding room. Ryan activated his power again, finding himself facing a steel floor with 4 animated, putrid corpses striking his back with pickaxes. Mercury. Bacchus cloaked his undead brawls with illusion.
I think trying to remember what I pulled that for.
just yeah, final confrontation as we start taking down the mini bosses and his witty banter along the way.
Yeah, yes, that's true. I had the comic relief and the dynamics.
Hmm.
An observer. The Ultimate One ignored the question. Another bubble floated in front of Ryan, showing him and Livia engaged in a vicious gunfight over the burning ruins of Mount Augustus's villa.
So this is awesome lore. It just any of these could be a book, but is another anyway.
In this
Yeah.
extinguished possibility, you never trust your current mate, and you start a war with her for control over your timeline. Each loop becomes worse than the last. Ryan gazed at this one for a while, before being distracted by another, showing the courier punching Augustus's chest and his hand coming out on the other side. In this one, you strike down her maker, the Ultimate One explained. And though she does not war with you, your bond is broken. You leave the New Rome human hive and return to your wandering, alone. The plushie pointed at another bubble, which made Ryan raise an eyebrow. It showed the courier in bed, surrounded by naked women, including Fortuna, Jasmine, Yuki, the vamp, Cancel, and Felix. Somehow, Felix was here too. Wait, is that the harem ending? Ryan asked with curiosity. In this timeline, you give up on forming meaningful bonds with your kindred, the Ultimate One explained. You live a jaded existence of meaningless sensations, dulling your heart's pain with physical pleasure. Ryan suddenly noticed Len and Libya's absence in this picture, illustrating the absence of anything deeper than mindless sex. I should have known it looked too good to be true, he said. The Ultimate One dispersed the bubbles with a thought. All of these are choices you could have made, or would have been forced upon you if you had wavered in your efforts. You discarded or extinguished these possibilities in the service of your perfect future. If this present moment takes place human, it is because you struggled to make it happen. So I have free will? The courier asked, afraid of the answer. If multiple paths are possible, then events aren't predetermined. Free will does not work as most humans understand it, the Ultimate One explained. The timeline is in flux whenever a life form makes a choice. A cat is faced with a forked path. It can take left or right. In that brief moment, both possibilities coexist. Ryan wondered if that cat's name was Schrodinger or maybe Eugene Henri. Until the cat chooses. Yes. After which, one possibility becomes the truth and is set in stone. History is written. Whenever you saved and turned back time, the ink was already dry. Humans had made their choice in a previous history, and they would make the same for all future ones unless interfered with by an outside force. This is the nature of causality. This is the nature of time.
Oh, real quick, thank you for joining us, Chaz. My
Yeah, appreciate it, buddy.
But yeah, the premise of the book for his power being Schrodinger's cat, now he's both alive and dead, and then the fact that he was sent there by the Ultimate One to essentially be the master of the universe is extraordinary, and then just the bringing it back to learning how to human, if things can go wrong at multiple or any step along the way, but if you have achieved your goals, it was you. There's no way to sugarcoat it. If it came to pass, or even if it's not achieving your goals, even if it's poor circumstances, like you fought for this to happen, or maybe you didn't fight hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's the last one I grabbed.
Okay. Yeah, really enjoyed this series. This is definitely an author I want to check out more of. I was going to look up his other series real quick because I think it has a teaser. Is it at the end of this one or is it at the end of like book one?
Or book one had the teaser. Or one of the teasers.
Yeah. He also does Underland series, but I think the one that we heard was Never Die Twice,
Yep.
which is just a fun title in it of itself. Yeah. Yeah. Fun series. Appreciate the recommendations as always. Also appreciate everybody who's been supporting us on this journey so far. With our new times, we know that not everybody can catch us now, but we do enjoy going back and reading your comments later when you catch it on the repeat. What do we have coming up next, Pete?
Next week at 7 p.m. Eastern is Dungeon Crawler Carl, Book 3, the Dungeons and Arcanist Cookbook. If you don't know the series, it's essentially Hunger Games meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Apparently we're all naive and we did not fill out the proper paperwork, so we have to prove our worth to be able to get our planet back. The current trials that face us is a dungeon. Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's pretty comical all in all, as things go, or not comical, but more so lighthearted and not as serious. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed what's become of the series. Any comment on Dungeon Crawler Carl?
Yeah, it's as far as if you want something lighthearted or fun that you don't have to take too seriously or necessarily like track what all is going on, this is my go-to for that. Um, a lot of laugh out loud moments. I mean, one of our main characters is pretty much Princess Donut, a talking cat that eventually gets to shoot laser beams from her eyes. So, like, what's not to love, right?
Very true. And after that, so 2 weeks time, we're going to be continuing Awaken Online. I believe this is the next one. Or it threw me off because it said side quest. I have not made it through this one yet, so I don't have a whole lot of information. But so far, and we've read two of the Awaken Online series. It's kind of like VGO or Viridian Gate Online, but in a different light, where VGO, the world's ending, and we get saved by being uploaded into a virtual world. A lot of the powerful entities are AIs, where this one takes it on a different angle where we're not trapped in the world. So we get some IRL instances, but its premise is variabilities and the AI awakening, thus the title Awaken Online. Um, and it does a lot of things to also awaken the people it interacts with in seeing things or playing through different scenarios. So I thoroughly enjoy it because of the lit RPG aspects, and it is a true lit RPG. But yeah, yeah, it gives you interesting possible scenarios, kind of like how I guess one of the classics everybody knows is The Matrix, where that one was more of a cautionary tale, where this one is more of a potential development.
Yeah. When we first started venturing into the space of lit RPG, Awaken Online was one of the titles we kept getting recommended. And I almost feel guilty about waiting so long to get to this series. It's been a lot of fun. Really enjoy its twist on the space with the AI components. And I'm really looking forward to going further down the rabbit hole there and just seeing what all Travis has in store for us with this series.
Yeah, so that I'd say that pretty much sums up the stream and next two coming up. Doing our best to stay ahead on scheduled out. Looks like we have a month out, which means probably need to get to scheduling more. But thank you for everybody who joined us. Catch us on the replay and hope to geek out with you here soon.
Bye.
Bye.